and everybody in our house and in our tribes volunteer time and their time and efforts to help in the SCA as much as possible. Now, I will say, when I first started in the SCA and all the way through up until 10, 15 years ago, I didn't have a very good time at it. I had a really crappy time at it, as a matter of fact, and with not feeling welcome, not having having a lot of problems, and that I want to preface this is that a lot of that was because also I was young, chip on my shoulder, thought I knew everything, and nobody's going to tell me what to do. So I was 50% of that problem. And so I want to really make sure that you understand that I was 50% of that problem. So if someone could say something completely unsnarky to me and say, hey, can you do this, this, and this? And I'd be like, and then I would be angry and start problems and stir stuff. That was me. I am not that way anymore. And what started changing my mind was meeting cool people, meeting nice people who went out of their way to say, hey, how come you have a problem? What's going on? Let's take care of this. And I actually see some of those people here right now, which is really cool. So one of the things that did that was somebody reaching out to me. But how did they reach out to me? How did they know to reach out to me? So one of the big things was finding and identifying fringies and what fringy is. And so we started out with the terminology of fringy is a fringe player, a person who's on the outside of everything, and they work on the outside completely oblivious or they just don't know how to come in and do other things, or they're brand spanking new, and they just need to, they just don't know what to do. So we call those brand new, starry-eyed, baby seal kind of people with, the big eyes and we call them newbies. No, it's not a derogatory term. They're just new. So we call them newbies. And the newbies are the ones that you see out in the fringes of events in their little pop-up tents, cooking baked beans on a fire in the can, or walking around at events and throwing together garb or a semi-triad garb and really don't know what's going on. Or the big one, they're wandering by your camp, looking in your camp longingly at your fire and the drums and the dancing, which we've all seen them. And that's the ones that you reach out to and pull them in. And that's the big thing is looking for that type of person, and that because there's a lot of people that are introverts, and it's extremely difficult for introverts to have any kind of interaction with people. I mean, I'm married to an extreme introvert. My wife is a huge introvert with not very many spoons. She runs out of spoons fast. And by spoons, I mean, she can only do so much before she runs out of her bubble collapses and she can't deal with it. She has to go, back to her tent or whatever and take a break. So how to approach someone like that, you have to be almost like you're approaching a skittish horse. They're wide-eyed. They don't know why you're coming over to talk to them. They think they've done something wrong, or they're not dressed right, or something's going on. And you have to kind of go to them and say, hey, how's it going? What you guys doing? I'm Lash. How's it going? What are you guys here for? Where are you from? All that. We've actually walked around. You'll see me at events at the very beginning of the event every single day, walking around in those encampments, talking to people, seeing who they are, where they're new, what their interests are, and then that's how you start the interaction. Now there is another group of fringies that I call the jades. Okay, they're jaded. They've had bad things happen to them. They revel in the bad things. They tell everybody who wants to know about the bad things for years. I mean, there's still people who talk about things that happened 20 years ago. Now, I'm not at all minimizing what they're talking about or what happened to them. I am absolutely not minimizing that. What I am saying though is that you have to be compassionate about what happened to them. You have to listen to them, you know, and really listen and see if there's a way that we can fix it, you know. And somebody came to me one time, said that this night treated me terrible, and he was mean to me. And I finally talked to him to find out what was going on. And he said, well, yeah, he scowls at me every time he walks by. You know, what did I do to this guy? He just keeps scowling at me. So I said, well, let's go find out. And they were like, oh, no, I don't want to go talk to this guy. So this went on for 6 years, them talking bad about this particular member of Chivalry. So I went to the guy and I'm like, hey, what's going on here? Why do you not like this guy? And he's like, what do you mean? I said, well, he said every time you walk by, you scowl at him. And I found out that particular gentleman wears glasses. He cannot see past 10 feet. So if you're walking by, he's doing this, squinting, trying to see who it is. And that was the entire problem. It's that one thing that lasted 6 years on somebody's back because they just didn't go and ask or find me, an advocate, to go say, hey, is there a problem? You know, can we fix this? So, so with the jaded people who've had bad things happen to them, the best thing is to sit down, just talk to them, listen to them, and see if you can fix the problem. Now there's a very small percentage of those people who don't want it fixed. They want it to be, you know, that's their main concern. That's their main goal. That's all they want to talk about. That's all they want to do is complain about this person or that person, and they really don't want to move on. Well, then at least you've tried with that person to take care of it. And then you can also have to kind of mitigate between them and the new person. So that, you know, that new person doesn't get jaded also. So when you want to approach them, or you feel that you really want to approach someone, but you feel that one, you don't know how to talk to them, or two, you may be an introvert, but you still want to have that connection, then find an advocate, find an extrovert. You know, I see a bunch of them right here. You know, I see Alazan, I see Edver, I see Seamus, I see all these different people here that any one of them, you know, Finagua, you know, Ula, you know, all these people are people that you can go to and say, hey, I really want to talk to that person because I really like the way that they do things. Or I want to help. You know, they have Walmart pajama bottoms on with a sweatshirt, and, you know, I want to help them out. And so you find your advocate, whoever that is. If possible, if you can't find an advocate, sometimes you just gotta cinch up the old belt buckle and forge in there and go for it, you know, and give yourself plenty of time to build your bubble up and to get your resolve to do that. Like my wife, if my wife wants to make a phone call, she has to gear herself up, literally, emotionally, gear herself up to make a phone call. So if you have people who have to do that in our group, you know, or as an introvert, then if you don't have an advocate, then yeah, give yourself time to gear yourself up and go over there and talk to them. And now when you do approach them and you start, you know, when you get to this distance, when you're in their bubble, they're in your bubble, and you feel like, oh no, everything that you were going to talk about goes right out the top of your head, you don't know what to say. The best thing to say is, how are you doing? My name is Flash. How are you doing? You know, I just wanted to come and meet you. And then that opens it up. And then a lot of the times you'll find out that they are extremely interesting people. They really are excited to do stuff. Kidda was, when I first met Kidda, she was real quiet little voice, and she just boom, blossomed as soon as she had a chance to talk. And that's one thing that we need, that what I talk about approaching people is you kind of have to approach them like you are like a skittish colt. You know, you're going easy, going quiet, and you take your time and patience. Then once they're engaged, really listen. Don't, you know, I know we're so excited, you know, to get new people in. Sometimes we just kind of go overboard trying to fill their head with everything because we're so excited, and we want to bring them in. But the main thing is that we need to listen to what they say and give them a chance to shine, even if it's something as small as they made a chainmail necklace. And they're like, oh, look, I made this chainmail necklace. Oh, that's fantastic. I know somebody who does that professionally that I can introduce you to if you're interested, you know, or something like that. But so that first section, we're getting real close to that, done with my first section. It was basically finding and identifying fringes, terminology for, you know, the fringy new jade. There is another one that I think some of you might know. It's someone called a royalist. I think some of you might know who that is. But it's the people who play mainstream, is what we call royaltists. And in the mercenary circles, we have a term called tatanka, and that's because a lot of people have points on their horn, on their coronets. We got actually they have points, and we call them tatanka, which actually is not a bad thing. It's actually it's our way of saying showing respect, because the buffalo is a spirit animal for a lot of us and is an amazing thing. But it's a good term for us to talk about people who wear pointy hats or wear belts or spurs. But is there, before I go on to the next one, is there any questions real quick? Anybody? Bueller? I saw somebody. Oh, no, maybe not. Okay. So we'll go on to the next one.
Hang on one second. Astrid of Swan's Vale has a question.
It's not actually a question, but I wanted to supplement what you were saying. Sometimes one of the challenges is that back when I started and you started, you could tell new people, because unless they were Ren Fair garb, they didn't really know how to put garb together, but now they can buy it.
Yeah.
And it can be really hard to tell that they are new people who need to be brought in.
Yeah, absolutely true. That is absolutely true. And but the way that we know that that's what we call veterans, people who've been in it for so long, is you can see the what I call the baby seal look, big wide eyes, and they're just, you can tell when they're walking around the Eric during Crown, they really don't know where they're going or what they're doing. They're just walking around. That's the kind of thing you can look at, and you could even ask around, say, hey, you guys know those people? Or oh, there's somebody else for a question. Is it, you cross that nest?
Yeah,
first?
I was just going to bounce off that. One of the things that I do is, if I see people at an event that I don't know, I just go introduce myself to them.
Yeah, and that's some people, though, that is so hard to do.
Say, hey, I'm Nest.
Yeah. So I'm going to move on to my next section now, unless there's another question or anything. So the next one, I kind of call it kind of funny, is it engaging with the newbie or the jaded, or even with the royalist, because a lot of us we may be veterans and we may have been in the SCA for a long time, but we go to a new kingdom. Guess what? You're the newbie regardless of how long you've been in, unless you have a belt or a medallion or a baldric or something that shows that no, you've been around for a while. Everybody's going to look at you as a newbie. And one of the things that we like, I've been to 6 different kingdoms. So, and every time it's the same, I get looked at as a newbie. So you just kind of take that in stride, and some people get defensive about that. I've been in this long, why are you treating me like that? Like, well, because they don't know you. So when you go and you find somebody who's new, and their garb is, you can tell, is not store bought, or it's just thrown together, or maybe loaner, which is another place, real quick plug, that I always frequent is Gold Key, or your local person who takes care of the local shadowing. Sorry. I always frequent there for the Gold Key at events and stuff, and because I'm always bringing garb and letting them borrow garb or whatever. But that's where you find a lot of newbies also, and a lot of new people. So you can always keep an eye on that. And then the people who are putting that on usually come to me and say, "Hey, Lash, we got a guy over here who wants to do Japanese persona. Can you talk to him?" Oh yeah, absolutely. So that's another outlet of places that you can find those new people. And like the lady earlier said, about them being in new garb. Everybody here knows, that's been in a while, knows those companies, knows where they got their garb. We recognize it, especially those of us who sew. We recognize where they bought it, so we know kind of if they're new or not. And to engage those people, you need to find out what they're interested in. What do they want to do? What do they like? They may not even know what they like. So showing them all the things going on in events, archery, thrown weapons, cooking, doing lists, sometimes I'll introduce them to the list mistresses, because the list is a hard job. And it's really kind of cool to me. It's witchcraft, but it's really cool for people to see how a tournament is put together. And some people like that. So finding things, what they're interested in, and then finding the person to get them together with. There's been this stigma, and now this is in every kingdom I've been in. Sorry to throw everybody under the bus, but one of the problems that we have is that people will get a newbie and they'll pull them into their household. They'll grab them, and then they won't show them around to other people. They'll try and bring them in, put them in garb, do all the things, put them in their household, and they don't even have a chance to explore. So what we should do with those people actually is find out what their interests are, and take them to somebody completely different, someone who you know is a good teacher or whatever, and introduce them there, and then get that into their first experiences, so that they know that they can go anywhere in our event and they're going to be welcome. Now, if you just pull them into your household and you don't let them talk to anybody else, and then they get stuck around a jaded person, and then they start getting preconceptions, that's ran into a lot of issues. And which in the household that I belong to, Black Company, we had that for a long time. In Artemisia and Aidenveld, and we kept causing this because we were jaded, and we would bring new people in, and then they would hear what we say, and then they would become jaded, even though they haven't had that experience. And that was our fault. So when we identified that years and years and years ago, we started changing it, not allowing people to complain. If you're in our tribe or in our house and you complain about a local officer, if I complain about Seamus, who is our seneschal for Rivenoak, if I complain about him, guess what? I just volunteered to take his job. So because if he's not doing a job that we like, then you don't get to complain about him. You need to take his job and do it better. And that's what we're doing in our house, is that if somebody has a problem with someone, we take them over, we work it all out, because a lot of us stick jocks are like herding cats, and cats with water thrown on them. And we get really caught up in what we do. Oh, sorry, I just got a message. I just saw that. Yeah, it was just pointing out to me that even another group would be the officers who work in the different areas, who are really their head is exploding with everything going on at the event, and they snark at somebody. They don't mean it, you know, they really don't. And so that is what we need to stop, the perpetuation of people who are jaded. We want to stop that, and and do it the same way that we do in our group in Black Company, which is, if you don't like it, then you need to take their job and do it better. And then when you do their job and you find out this sucks, being seneschal for Rivenoak, for the amount of work that Seamus has to do, I don't know how he does it. It sucks. But I mean, it really doesn't. But you see what I'm talking about. It's a lot of work. It is a huge amount of work. And a lot of us, Black Company guys and other mercenary tribes that hung out with us, would go to events and not do anything at that event. They just go to the event, they fight, they party, they do their thing, and they don't help. But they'll complain about stuff going on at that event. They'll complain that the list took too long. They'll complain that, you know, that we didn't get enough fighting. They'll complain that the food wasn't all that great at, you know, when you buy in for food, all these other things, and not contribute. Well, they don't get to do that anymore. If something like that happens, they need to contribute and they need to help out. So the way to do that with new people is to show them. So when you have people come in, you take them over and say, hey, you know what? I know there's a lady who works gate every single event, and she's there 12 hours a day. Take a new person over there and say, hey, here, this is Christine. She's amazing. And she's a constable, and you guys have a lot in common, and then she tells him what a constable is, and gets Christine engaged instead of just sitting there for hours waiting for people to come through. And that's how we do that, is to engage the new person with everyone in the SCA, not just your group, everyone. And so you need to take them to, to whoever that you think actually needs help. And you can just say, hey, I think Edward needs help on the archery range. Why don't we go down the archery range and, and go see what we can do down and see what you try archery, see if you like it. We've had several people we brought down there, and then all of a sudden they're hooked. Edward's awesome. So when he gets his hands on them and puts a bow in their hands, they're hooked, and and that's just it. So then as you're doing this, there's a thing called voluntelling or overloading. Okay. We've had a lot of people come in new, like here at Rivenoak and other places, where we have newbies come in and they are really excited. They're really go-to attitude. They really want to get stuff done. And then we give it to them. And we give it to them. And we pile it on and pile it on. And pretty soon they're just like, whoa, I don't want to do this anymore because this is too much. And they quit and they walk away. So what we have to do is watch these people, the new people that we bring in, or new people who just show up, and make sure that that's not happening to them. Talk to them and say, hey, are you sure you want to do that office? Are you sure you want to work and do that? Because that's a lot of work, and let them know what it is. And also to let them know that we're there and that they can lean on us if they still want to do the job, so that they don't have to take it on all by themselves. And the overload can also be when we overload them with information when we first meet them. Oh, you can do this, you can do this, you can do this, go to this website, this webpage, this thing, blah, and they're just like, you have to start out slow and let them get their feet. And one of the things I tell every single new person I meet is to give themselves a year to go find all the things that they want to do. Don't commit to anything, nothing, and just see how everything runs, see the things that you want to do, instead of being pulled into a household to do things, or even becoming a protege or a squire or belonging to a household or any of those things that they really don't understand the ramifications of what it is. And so so that's one of the main things to make sure that you're not overloading them. And the ways you do that is you go to all the meetings. You go to your shire meetings, your barony meetings, your principality meetings, your kingdom meetings. You watch those newbies that are there and make sure that that's not happening to them. And if it is, you can, or you may think it is and it's not, you at least go and engage them and say, hey, are you sure you really want to do that? You know, and there are also, surprisingly enough, I know this is hard for you guys to believe, but there are some peers out there who are just volunteers. You're going to do this, and you're going to do this, and you're going to do this. I know it's hard to believe, but it's true. There are some that are like that. So we have to be the buffer between them, because between them and the new person, because the new person would be, you know, big starry eyes and like, okay, I'll do it because this person is big, direct, and scary because they've been dealing with stick jocks for 50 years. And, you know, so what we do is that we can interpose ourselves between them and say, hey, I think that might be a little too much for them, or let them decide themselves, and then give them support and just make sure that they're not being voluntold, because it took me 4 years to say no. 4 years to say no when I started doing all these different things. And the main proponent of that was my wife. She's like, you're doing too much. You need to relax. You're going to get burnt out. So that's a big one, is learning to say no. I can't take that on, and teaching the new people coming in that they can say no. Some of them don't realize they can say no. You know, they really don't. They think that there's rules that they have to do these things when they're asked by a peer or a royal, you know, by a royal peer, or even not even a peer, even a person who is just an officer. You know, I don't mean that as just an officer, but, you know, an officer in the local shires baronies. You know, they think that they have to do what they tell them, and that's not absolutely true. So that's my second one, which was called, what I kind of labeled as engaging. Is there any questions?
Hey, Lash.
Yes.
I think you touched on a really important thing on people not feeling like they can say no when they're being approached by peers. I generally, not always, but I do try, especially when I'm speaking to non-peers, to start with no is a perfectly acceptable answer. Do you feel like that actually resonates, or do you think that the misunderstanding and the culture clash is too big, that that's not enough of an overture?
I don't think it is, because peer fear is a real thing. It's a real thing. And I think all the long-term players who are here, they know, because there's some scary people out there. And I mean, and I don't mean that in a bad way. I mean it, I'll give you an example. I'll probably get in trouble, but I don't care. Duke Havek. Duke Havek is an amazing person. He is scary. He's focused. His garb is perfect. He is a fantastic fighter. He is a fantastic peer. He is scary. And he was scary to me 8 years ago. And he is one of the nicest people you will ever talk to. But to get past that visage, if you want to say it, that's the hard part. And I mean, there's probably people from here, from all over, who know people that are like that are, you know, so peer fear is a real thing, and it's unfortunate. So I think the overture has to be, one, if you can see that they have that fear or that they feel that way, is to take them away from wherever you're at, somewhere quiet, and say, hey, you know, feel free to say no. You absolutely can say no anytime you want, and then explain to them what you need, what you want, and then tell them that, you know, that you're not any kind of authority. You're not a boss. You're not telling them what they need to do. And this is sometimes really hard to address. I had someone tell me that I was scary. And I was like, what? Because I am so over the top in people's faces. That's why, because I am over the top and in people's faces. And so yes, absolutely, Mr. Celsi, that is, I think all of us who are peers need to be aware of that. And I think that we need to go extra lengths to make sure that that doesn't happen. I mean, there's people who don't even know they're doing it. So as peers, we need to go to them and say, hey, you need to soften up a little, you know. Does that answer your question?
Thank you.
Okay, so we'll go into the third one. Third one is my last one. It's called, I call it socializing. And we're socializing to most people. It's like, yay, we got to do this because right now I am in extrovert hell. Sitting at home, talking to you, not being able to hug you. And, you know, especially Agnes, you know, we don't get to hug. And it's horrible for us extroverts. My wife, she is like a COVID Rambo. She's like ties on that bandana and she's rocking it because she's home in her nest. So yeah, so exactly. Abraham, same way. And so the socializing thing is a trigger word for a lot of the introverts that I know. There are several introverts that are in my tribe that are, you say socialize or party or event, and they're instant anxiety. Instantly they're scared. They're thinking of all the things that can happen. And they just talk themselves out of going or engaging in any kind of interaction. So what I try and do, like when I go to events, this goes back to full circle to finding and identifying people. I also look for those people who may not be fringy, but they feel they're on the outside. You know, they may have been going to events for 4 or 5 years, and I've seen them, and they're still not going to the stuff that's going on. They still kind of sit back at their tent and watch from their tent all the things that go on. We all seen them. We've all seen the people who sit in their little sunshades, and they sit back there with whatever they're reading or drinking or whatever, and they watch everything going on out there. You know, the way that I approach that is that I go to their, you know, to their shade or wherever they're at. I estimate their bubble to be about 10 feet. And I say, you know, may I approach? May I come and talk to you? And if they say, yeah, no, I'm kind of out of spoon. Oh yeah, no problem. No problem. You know, just come find me if you want to hang out. That gives them the opportunity to say, no, I'm out of spoons. My bubble's popped. I don't want to deal with interaction. So that we've all seen those people. So that we need to engage those people and say, hey, how's it going? Find out, and then kind of find out why. Are they jaded? Maybe we need to find out what's going on with them, and then introduce them to someone who you know can help, who is the same way but has worked through it. A perfect example, we had I met a person who was they've been going to events for 3 to 4 years, and I met them and I talked to them, and they were like, wow, you're the first person to ever talk to me. And I'm like, really, why? And then, well, because they hide in their tent, so they technically weren't available. But when I did talk to them, I said, well, so what do you do? Oh, well, I kind of like to paint Old Norse and Scythian stuff. I'm like, oh, have I got somebody for you to meet? You know, and I introduced them to Her Grace Helga, and boom, there you go. So those people that were watching them, that are out there, and we see them, if you see them, or you may even know them because you might be the person sitting in the shade tent hiding, and you see that other person over there sitting in the shade tent hiding, that you have somebody that's in your household that you can talk to. You can mention to them, hey, you're an extrovert. Hey, Lash, come here. You talk a lot. You talk all the time. Why don't you go find out about what they're doing? Because those two people that are sitting in the shades could be interacting to each other and understand completely what's going on with their psyche and what's going, and how they feel about being at events and stuff. Perfect. Ula just sent me some weaponized extrovert. I just heard that this weekend. Weaponized extrovert. Man, I am a katana. Okay. if you need a weaponized expert, I'm your guy. One of the things that like in our tribe, Black Company, when we go to events, and this is open to everybody here and friends of yours and friends of theirs and whoever else they know, there's always at our events what we call introvert corner. It's a shade tent that we set up that has walls, it has blankets, pillows, chairs, and it's completely walled. It's in the very, very back corner, hidden corner of our camp. People come in, they're able to, if they come in and they say, hey, I have a friend here and we got, she's got anxiety and she's having problems, she's having issues, she's having an anxiety attack. Come on in, go sit down with, usually my lady's in there. So she's sort of like the moderator of the introvert tent. And they can come in, sit down. We have one person who is not a weaponized extrovert like me, talk to them and get them drinks, get them food, get them, make them comfortable. So maybe that's something that all of us can do in our camps. Set up these introvert corners, and set up these areas where people can feel safe. And so if you're ever at an event and you see the Black Company sign, or you see me or anybody, and you want to come over and visit our introvert corner, you're more than welcome to do so. Anybody. And then, because that's what being in the SCA and doing the stuff that we're doing, that's what it is all about. I mean, we want to help everybody. We want everybody to feel safe. We want everybody to feel comfortable. We want to help everyone. And the way to do that is to find advocates, find people that'll help you, find weapons, use them. But I would have to say the weaponized extrovert is a fantastic term, but we need to come up with that one introvert that that will go out and find another introvert and say, they take out they do the, introverts unite separately thing, and they draw them in and help them cope with us weaponized extroverts. Because I'm overbearing, I'm loud, and yeah, that's me. So that was basically, I've kind of meandered away from what I was talking about socializing, but not really. One of the things that I wanted to make sure that I got in is that it's letting those new people know that everyone at an event is at their disposal, really, and if they are not, every single person at an SCA event will help you if you ask. Every single person. If they're a newbie, they may just help anyway if you ask them. Or if they're jaded, they may not, and that has happened. But at least you engaged them, you tried, and if it didn't work, so be it. But everyone at an event will help. I can walk into any camp at Great Western War and say, I need help, and I'll have 50 people jumping to help. We had at one of our events in the West Kingdom, we had a mundane person who wasn't even at our event. They were at another camp being sexually assaulted in her tent. And all of us, my Black Community crew and people addressed the situation, took care of it, because we heard her screaming and stuff, and we took care of that issue and that problem instantly. That would have happened to any camp that had been in our place. If you'd had a, anybody who was camped in our spot, the same thing would happen. They would have been over there in a heartbeat helping this woman out. And that's what we need to let these a lot of these new people know, that you can ask or talk to anybody you walk by in the road. You can ask them questions. You can, and because if they don't know, a lot of them will find somebody who does, or they will say, I don't know what I'm doing either. Well, where are you going? And then guess what? Those two people now have friends. So part of that is letting those new people know how they can serve. How can they help out? In my tribe, when we go to events, every person in my tribe is required to put at least 2 hours of service in at every event. They are required. If you go to an event and you don't do your service, you're buying beer. And nobody wants to buy beer because we're mercenaries, and that hurts us in the heart if we have to buy beer. So that is one of the big things, is that, so how do we tell people how to serve at events? How do you do that? You find the volunteer coordinator. You find the volunteer coordinator. You go to a very good one. Go to Harold's Point. Go to Harold's Point. Talk to them, because the Heralds know everything. They know, or if they don't, they know who to go to find out. The other thing you can do is Marshall's Point, or the constables. See the constable, boom. Great Western War. If you see the constable driving by on a golf cart and she's really upset because some people have not volunteered, then you grab your people and you go volunteer. I see you down there, Chris.
I'm sorry to interrupt, but I wanted
Yep.
to email 254, and also Helvey has their hand up.
Excellent. So yeah, okay, yeah, 255. We can just go into questions. Now we're at the mercy of her Mistress Ulak. As long as she wants to hang out, we can sit and chat. But when she has to go, she has to go, and we'll have to close it down quick.
We're good for now. I'm actually, I was not able to record, which was part of my job here. So it's also on Seamus, because he is the one that is recording for this. By the way, we missed your intro, but I think he picked it up right after that. Helvey of Gotland has a comment, question, something. So if you unmute yourself and jump on in.
Okay, yeah. So I have been in volunteer for like 7 years, and I've done several offices, including Chatelaine, Arts and Sciences, etc. What I've seen and what I've been frustrated with bringing in new people is that when I've got new people, I've got them in there. I'm more of an introvert, so I'll introduce them to people, I'll hang with them, but at events and stuff like that, but not for the entire event. I can't hold their hand for the entire event. So I've tried to introducing them to other people, and here, try this, here, try that, here, find your group. What's frustrating is that, at least within our barony and the baronies around us, people have been here long enough. They're in established cliques, established groups, and
Yes.
they're there to socialize with people, their buddies that they haven't seen and stuff. So this person gets kind of shuttled off to the outside, and pretty soon they fall off because they're lonely extroverts. The
Right,
introverts
and like you're saying, they'll
but the
be at
extroverts fall off.
they'll be at a party, say in the middle of West Ontario. There's been all the dukes and all the knights and all the people are in the center of the party, and they're walking into this cacophony of chicken noise, and they get scared and they move back out because nobody's engaging them.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and then that is the area where me and my tribe circle around, and we're like, oh, hey, how's it going? Blah, blah, blah. And we talk to these people, especially the ones that have that deer in the headlights look, or the baby seal look, So I think the best way to address something like that would be to go directly to your king and queen, your seneschal, your chatelaines, and tell them that that this is happening, and that maybe at the next event, before the event, you have them do an announcement and say, hey, we need all peers to be on point, welcoming new people. You know, because we've seen each other all the time. You know, yeah, maybe a Duke I haven't seen in 2 years or whatever, but they understand we need to engage the new persons before talking to them, because the new person is more important. And even if you tell them, hey, we got a new person here, they'll be like, oh, hey, how's it going? Boom. You know, the only caveat to that is if it's before a tournament. I usually don't want to get in because they're trying to get in their headspace for a tournament. That's kind of like a inviolate place that we don't want to do that. But yeah, and if we ever do a West Frontier soon, then and if you're having that problems, come find me. And then if you see anybody up here, I don't know if you guys can see how well you can see it, but there's a sash up here that has a phoenix on it, or this phoenix here. If you see anybody wearing this sash with that phoenix and you need help, ask that person. They will drop what they're doing and they will help. If they don't, then just let me know who it was. I hope, does that answer your question?
Yes, thank you.
Anybody else?
Can I kind of piggyback on that last one just a little bit? Now I know we say a lot of times, like, we need to say the peers need to be nice, but at the same time, like, how many times are we going to say the peers need to be nice? I hear it a lot. I don't know if it's just me, but I hear a lot of times, like, the peers need to be nice, and I totally agree. But I also feel like a lot of times it gets put on solely the peers when a new person is, you know, feeling like they're not involved or what have you. Like,
so I have an unpopular opinion about that. It might be unpopular, but it is the peers' fault. It's my fault. It's everybody else's fault if a person is feeling that way. Because as a peer, we have to be on point with all of our interactions with all the new people. If we're not, it can cause that, what you're talking about is them talking about us or becoming jaded. Now, the reason by it is because as peers, you especially, because you're out there, you have both fringy and royalist friends. And so you hear that just like I do. So we have to go to those peers and get that taken care of. And I know it gets put on the peers. It really does. And it's, to be honest, it's not fair, but it's the job that we have. It's the job that we're supposed to be doing. It's the job we took. You know, and like I said, it's not popular, and I'm sorry if that bothers people, but that is the job that we are supposed to be doing. We are supposed to be ambassadors of the SCA and ambassadors of inclusiveness.
I'm going to say that officers are that way as well. I don't know any officer in any barony or any kingdom level or principality level that doesn't feel the need to make sure that it is inclusive for everyone at this point.
Oh,
I think I saw Agnes first, right?
okay, and then Ellis, and then Seamus, I
Ellis?
believe.
Okay.
Well, to kind of piggyback on that, peers have associates, they have proteges, they have apprentices, they have squires, they have, I don't know what the masters of defense are calling theirs right now, cadets? Cadets, okay. And one of the things as a non-peer, I'm a non-peer, is that we need, you know, our peers should be telling us, hey, you're representing me, you need to be the person, you need to be that person that represents me well as your peer. You know, you're not just, you know, you should be nice to everybody. You should be kind to everybody. You should be considerate to everybody. You shouldn't just want to associate with peers or their associates. You need to associate with the newcomers. You need to bring the newcomers in. Now, I also was, and you can send them to the ANS Pavilion because ANS loves people.
Yeah, and I love the ANS people because they have the best ladies. Just kidding. No, I'm just kidding. No, the ANS tennis, absolutely. One of the other things that I want to also piggyback that with what Fiongula was talking about was that we also have new peers, people who just became Knights or Laurels or Pelicans, who have this thing that they have to act a certain way around their peers, and they have to be this way, and they have to be, you know, stalwart and solemn, and that's just, they learn later that's just not true. And I think it was Ellis, right?
Okay, I think Ellis is next, and we're running on time here.
I have one thing I want to say, which is if someone comes to any of you, peer, not peer, whoever, and spread and has a complaint about peers, please get the name of the person they are complaining about and go to a peer you trust and tell them, because if we don't know who is the problem, there is not a thing we can do, damn it.
Hallelujah. Sing it.
And that's the big thing that I'm trying to badly articulate is, you know, I hear a lot of, okay, well, this is on the peers, and I do agree to a degree, but I don't hear a lot of, you know, well, such and such peer needs to be spoken to. I just hear a lot of kind of vague.
And when you hear that, say, who's the problem, please? I've got friends who might be able to fix that.
Yeah, you know, and that actually circles back.
I have to run because I have another class.
Yeah, it's, we need
Thanks,
to wrap
Flash.
this up. Seamus, did you have something last real quick? And then we gotta go.
Okay, so sorry, Lash, I just want to say one thing that I think is really important. You said not to, for us to speak, but I think that a lot of times peers are not necessarily trying to be mean or be jerks to people. They're just not paying attention. I think a lot of times they're at their party, they're hanging out with their friends. They're not being mindful that there's other people that should be brought into the sort of the whole, as it were. And sometimes they miss those opportunities. And sometimes peers might be busy doing stuff and they may come off in a way that comes off mean when they don't intend to, but that doesn't help because it's still coming off in that inappropriate way.
So the way that I address that is that there's a person who's one of my absolute heroes, and he's here right now, is Randall.
Mm-hmm.
And has Randall ever not acted appropriately?
No, but it takes being
in
mindful,
40 years.
right?
In 40 years, that means we can do that too. That means everybody else can do that too.
And I want to say this to peers and non-peers: be mindful of those around you. Take a look around, like Lash has been talking about this whole time. Be aware, you know, approach them in the ways that Lash was talking. Lash was on point the whole time. Yeah, it's really important. And you don't want to come off the wrong way to somebody just because you're not paying attention or, you know, checking your own emotional state when you react to somebody, maybe.
Right. And that's why you have your friends, your other peers.
Mm-hmm.
So just, I'm going to be that guy who says, hey, you know, you need to chill out on the booze and go back to your tent. You know, or something like that. But thank you so much, you guys. And thank you, Ula, so much.
No problem.
doing
Happy to help
this.
keep you on track. And thank you, Seamus, for stepping in to record that at the last minute when I pushed the
Nice.
button and it gave me an error message.
Yeah.
Woo, what to say?
I'm still recording. Should I stop now? I'm waiting
Yeah,
for
we
you.
can go ahead and
Ula.
kill the recording now.